Thank you for tuning in to the Good Investor Podcast. Today's guest, Matt Beans, is talking about rural land development and how he has bought properties for as little as $1. You're going to want to tune into the whole thing because towards the end, we talk about the reality of developing affordable housing in 2026 and what he thinks is going to happen with the whole real estate market in the country. So listen up, take out your notes. This is going to be a great episode. You want to watch the whole thing to the end. Like and subscribe if you enjoy it. We'll get into this. Well, Matt, thank you for joining us today. I'm excited to interview you because, like I was saying here kind of backstage a second ago, is I'm very interested to learn more about what you do because you do a lot with land and notes and things that I don't have any experience with. So it's super exciting just to hear about it. But I want to dive into your story and how you got started. We want to start with, what was your first real estate deal?
Sure, man. Tim? Pleasure to be here. I appreciate you reaching out and asking me to be on the pod. I'm like, dude, I'm just a land guy walking around Briars and buying and selling dirt. I have no place to be on a podcast and talk about this stuff, but it's an honor. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, people want to hear the real stories of real investors, and
it's real, man.
I love watching what you're doing. So, yeah, take us through it. I'm here to use this. Like, this is mentorship for me and for the listeners to get a ton of value. What are you doing right now, and how did you get started in it?
Sure. If people don't get value, I'll refund them their money for listening to this. So, man, just quick background. Over the last 24 months, I have developed over 300 acres. Prior to that, I have done fix and flips, and I've also built and sold a bookkeeping business for real estate investors. So what I realized in the real estate space is a lot of people don't have their financial set up. They're running kind of like the West, the Western cowboy of just gunslinging and making it happen. That's literally what they say. Just grind and make it happen. Figure it out. I personally don't like running a business like that. I think it's a good mindset to get you to a certain point, but at some point you got to stop being the hustler and become the CEO. As far as what I do, I'm developing land. So a lot of people think of a developer and they, maybe they'll go downtown or they'll see new condos and townhouses going up. Those are developers as well. I don't play in that game. I'm outside city limits. My customer that buys from me is living in the country. They want chickens. They want to wake up in the morning, grab their eggs for breakfast out of the chicken coop. When spring comes around, they're going to go outside and they've got pigs in the yard that they can, turn into sausage. They've got maybe a small herd of cattle or goats, and that's the person that I cater to. The thing about this, and we all hear it all the time in real estate, is you got to solve the problem. The problem right now is to get some land in the country, 20, 50, 100 acres. I mean, you're looking at $300, $500, $1 million to buy these properties. It's unaffordable. And then financing. How do you talk a bank into saying, hey, here's a metric ton of dirt and trees, come finance this for me, right? So typically banks, anybody that listens to Grant Cardone, houses are built for banks. Banks aren't lending on the land that you're buying typically. They're lending on the asset that is built that has a fixed value that they can rent out, they can auction to another investor, they can move paper to another bank. The mortgages are backed by Fannie, Freddie, and all these other government-backed institutions. So the funding for land is tough. So those are the two things that we solve for our clients.
Okay, that's all. So the clients, what they're going to do with the land, is that usually called a homestead? Like I've heard you use that term. What describe that? Like, why is it that people are looking for this, and why is there not another model other than what you're doing?
We are in a very interesting time. If you look back 100 years, 30, 40% of Americans were farmers. Today, 3% of Americans are farmers. If you look at the trust in nutrition of food, higher or lower over the last 50 years? Lower. If you look at the ability to work from home, right, having to go into an office versus work from home. And I think that's drastically going to increase the ability to work from home with all these AI agents and all the things going on. And then simply observation. Go to a grocery store. I just saw I think it's the son of the Reese's peanut butter cup. He just made
Yeah,
like a
I
little
saw
Twitter
something about
post. He's
that.
like, my father built this company on milk, chocolate, and peanut butter. He went and he bought Reese's peanut butter cups, took a picture of it, posted it on, I think, Twitter, and is like, there's not milk, chocolate, or peanut butter in this, right? So in just observing going to a grocery store and saying, hey, I want to buy real food, the entire middle section of the store is off limits. And so just that distrust in that. I also think the reliability of, I don't know that you've probably ever raised animals, but there is something secure about like, hey, what happens if the power goes out and all the food in your fridge goes out and a storm comes, right? A storm comes in, power goes out, traffic stops. How long is a grocery store able to supply a city for food? On average, it's less than a week. But when you look out your front yard and you say, hey, I've got 400 pounds of chicken meat out there, or 2,000 pounds of cattle, or,
Yeah.
you know,
Eggs coming in every
yeah,
day.
eggs, 2, 3 eggs coming in every day. It's like there's this sense of security. Like, cool, let the storm come in. I'm going to protect my animals. And as long as my animals live and we can protect them, provide them water, and give them shelter, we're good.
Yeah. So take me, I guess I want to hear about the first land deal that you've done, because I know you do it very creatively. Like we were saying, the banks don't really want to finance a piece of land. Like there's not much protection in them. Again, and also we were talking to this a little bit because you mentioned your bookkeeping and accounting is the tax strategies that you use with your business, because lands, you can't depreciate land. So I want to talk about what you're doing. You just posted a video today about a building you bought for depreciation. So
I'll tell you
the
what, this quick lesson on
land
that.
deal. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I had 45 minutes before this call, and I was like, man, I need to do something with this 45 minutes. I literally just went outside and recorded a video. So earlier I said, don't just grind and hustle and make it happen, but keep that mindset of like, seize the opportunity. When you have an extra 5, 10, 15 minutes, don't just, jerk around and scroll on social media. Like, go make the video, right? Just a quick lesson on that of like, even when you're running a multi-million-dollar business, still you do that by still seizing those 5 minutes, those 10 minutes, those 15 minutes. And sometimes you just make it happen.
Yeah. Okay. So I promise we're going to get into real estate deals because that's what we're here for.
Let's do it.
I got to bring this up. So why, as a business owner doing a lot of real estate investment, buying land, why is content important to you?
Sure. It's the same reason you're running this podcast, right? I don't know that there's a less expensive, more reliable way than to create organic content. I wish we could sit down face to face and you could see body language, you could have a full view of body, but like, dude, with the advent of AI, like, what do we want as humans? We want safety and security, and what do we trust more than anything else? It's our judgment of another person. And so the more content we can put out there and the more trust, like, yeah, this is real. Sure, you see a social media video of like, oh, we made 200 grand on a piece of land, but like, how does this guy interact with somebody else? How do they answer questions? Do they get squirmy? Are they doing something shady? Are they, dodging questions? That's why I think content's super important. And I don't think it has to be viral. It just needs to be good enough that when you're running your ads to say, or you're doing a deal with the client or somebody's looking to buy land from you, can they go on your social media and be like, oh, wow, this guy's got 3 chickens. This guy's just bought a office building on Highway 58. Oh, this guy did a podcast with Tim Stone. This guy, has a girlfriend or a wife, or, he drives a Ram 3500. Can they get to know you as a person? Be like, oh, this is a real guy. He's not trying to like Fugazi me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I really like it to the point is it doesn't have to go viral for it to be worth it. It just like creating the content, just connected with one other person could make it worth it. Or the fact that they can look you up and they see something, they're like, oh, this is a real guy. He's not hiding from the internet, because that's a red flag if someone tries to look you up and they can't find anything.
Content is real estate. You know what I mean? Like, all we're doing is, instead of old days of doing business was you drive down the road and you're like, oh, there's a restaurant, we're hungry, let's go eat there, right? Or, hey, we need to go find a title company. We're going to just go drive around until we find a title company to do our real estate deal, right? Today, what do? You go online, you go on social media, you're Googling. And so it's like, what kind of electronic or internet real estate do you own? Do you have a couple of videos on YouTube? Can you be found on Instagram? Can you be found on Twitter? Can somebody email you, right? Do you answer your phone when they call?
Exactly. Okay. So real estate, first land deal. What did that look like? How did you say, this is going to be my niche? This is my lane. I'm going to develop rural land.
Sure. So I started out, first real estate deal was I had $5,000 in my bank account and I worked at a real estate investment company, pretty much running operations for acquisitions and dispositions. Took that whole thing over within a year and I left and I put a property under contract for $145,000. Down payment on that with hard money is $15,000 and I have $5,000 in my bank account. So I went out and I applied for 17 credit cards within 1 week, got approved for 12, $70,000 in approvals, transferred $60,000 from those credit cards, all at 0% interest for 12 to 18 months to my bank account. Now I have $65,000 in my bank account.
Wow.
And so that's what I used.
That's resourceful. Wait. So you applied to 17 credit cards.
Got approved for 12. Obviously maxed them out. And I told everybody, everybody that was important at the time that was involved, like, hey, heads up, my credit score is about to freaking tank because I'm going to go max out all these credit cards, but I needed the money to go do the deals. I flipped 10 deals in that first year. Realized I did not like the systems and the process of flipping single family houses, but I really enjoyed the prospect of land. There's a lot less competition. It is truly scalable in the sense I have literally bought a property for $1 and you've seen property sell for hundreds, tens of millions of dollars, and you don't get that with real estate. Very seldom can you buy a property for under $50,000, $100,000 for a single family. Multifamily, you can't even buy a multifamily for under $250,000 in the US. And so it's like, it was the first truly scalable thing in real estate that I saw. And so I took a portion of my profits from flipping houses, went and applied them to land deals. And when I say applied them to land deals, I was doing $200 deals, $500 deals, $1,000 deals, $2,500 deals. And my first real crack at success and my first challenge in land, even though it was small, I put a property under contract for $70,000. It was 20 acres in Arizona. Figured out how to do the subdivide, and I had a partner that was going to put up 35. I'd put up 35. We'd split the profit. 2 weeks before closing, he backs out. Matt, I don't have the money. Again, you got to get resourceful, right? You either do or you don't in this world. And so just freaking started banging the phones, hard money lenders, private money lenders, banks, family, friend, anybody, just figuring it out. Secured the $35,000. It took me about a year and a half. It took me 9 months to get the approvals done. Within 30 days of approvals done, I had 3 of the 5 lots sold, sat on the rest for about 6 months, sold it, made about 50 or 70,000 bucks on that net after commissions and lender fees and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, there's something here. I just bought a property for $70,000 and I just made $70,000. I literally doubled my money and I put $35,000 into it because I had a 50% loan, right? LTV loan. And so I just kept going. I just started looking at bigger deals, 50 acres, 100 acres, different areas of the country and just dialing it in.
So you just found a raw piece of land. You got all the just entitlements, permits, and everything done, got it prepped and ready for a developer, and then sold it to a developer?
No. So I did entitlements and everything and got it prepared to be individual lots, right? Road frontage and access to utilities. The reality is the lots that I sell, a developer doesn't want, right? To go spend, say, $50,000 on 5 acres, a developer doesn't want that in the middle of the country because you can't put townhomes or apartments in the middle of the country. And so my product does not work for developers. I sell my product retail to end consumers that want to live on this property and homestead.
So you split it up into parcels and sold it into individual buyers?
Yes, sir. Yep. So 20 acres, say roughly 6 to 8 acres each. On 5 lots.
So there were a couple of things from that story. One, just the perseverance and the how can I get it done mindset is super important. Just not I can't do it, but how can I get it done? And that's what you did. You got it done. But also I heard you just briefly mention oh yeah, I did my first fix and flip, then I did 10 that year. Like that's a crazy thing I think for some people to hear is I want to touch a little bit on that. You also threw in something where you said you bought a property for $1. So we definitely got to talk about the $1 property story.
Dollar deal.
But going from nothing, never done a real estate deal to then flipping 10 homes. How did you learn all of that? Did you learn it all on your own?
Yeah, great question. The secret there is have a partner, right? I went and I partnered with the guy that had 20 years of experience on the first couple of deals. I provided the money, I provided the deal, and I cut him in 50%. He had nothing to lose. I said, hey, I can't afford to write you a check, but I can afford to buy deals and I can afford to pay you profit when we're done. He got me involved. So he partnered with me on 5, and then I went and I partnered with him on 5, all within the first year.
So mentorship and partners are super important to you.
Partnership, yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to go into something, it's like, would you rather get 100% of nothing because the likelihood of you failing is like 9 out of 10? Or would you rather get half of something and it's more than you would have got? Yeah, you learn. Like I tell people, your first 5, 10 deals in real estate, it's not to make money. It's to learn the process. It's to get your reps in, right? Your first time, I don't have kids, but like when I watch kids ride bikes, you don't put a kid on a bike. It's like, hey, your job is to go ride a race. No, your job is just to like pedal. Like just pedal.
Yeah.
Just go
Not
pedal.
fall.
Right? Don't fall.
The job is to not fall.
And so that's your job. Like you're not any better than a 5-year-old learning to ride a bike. Your job is to just not fall.
So how do you make sure that you have a partner or a mentor you can work with that you can trust? Or here's a controversial take, like, is it worth it to even say like, hey, even if I get screwed over here, I learned something?
100%. You got to make sure. I mean, first, you need to fundamentally know this is a good deal, right? You need to know I can sell this property for $250 and I can buy for $150. Renovation costs are $40. Like, I'm not going to lose money on this, right? Worst case scenario in that situation is you get to closing, everything goes through, they take all the profits, right? And so protect yourself from stuff like that. They're not on the entity. Sure, maybe you have an agreement on the side of like, hey, you're paying half the profits, but you're the one that put the money up. You're the one that got the deal. Put it in your entity name. They're not on the entity. And so when that check is made out, it's made out to you or your entity. So, putting in legal protections and then just being a steward of your word of like, hey, I promise you half the profits. You cut that check for half the profits.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. So mentorship helped you get started. You learned you didn't want to do fix and flips. How'd you buy a property for $1?
So one thing that you asked me earlier was why make content? I think it's important to make content publicly, but it's also important to make content privately, or what people would call relationships, right? Calling up the real estate agents, calling up the brokers, going to the meetups, right? You're not going there and you're not making all this content, but you're shaking hands, you're building goodwill with people. And I get a call randomly one day. This lady says, hey. I said, what's up? This is Matt. She goes, I've got a property in Arizona. It's where I grew up. And it's 3 lots, it's 10 acres. And my agent told me to call you for this property. I said, okay, how can I help? She goes, well, we're doing end of life planning. We live in North Dakota. It's going to cost me more money to just do all the attorney stuff and, end of life trust and wills and all this nonsense than it is just to give it up. We've owned it for 30 years. I don't really care about it. My kids don't care about it. I'd rather just give it to you. I was like, awesome. I can send over a contract. How much are you asking for this property? She goes, no, you can have it.
You can have it.
Okay.
All the property.
Man, I appreciate that. In order to have a legally binding contract, I have to give you some sort of consideration of goodwill that has a dollar amount for the title company to process this contract. Should I just put $1 on there? Yeah, that's fine. Just send it over to my email and just cover closing costs. Send me my $1 or don't. I don't really care. And let's do it. I was like, what the heck? So that was one of my first forays into seller financing. So I buy this property after closing costs, everything, probably like $400 or $500, and I sell it on seller finance for $100 a month for 10 years, or for 100 months. It was 10 grand. But yeah, 100 bucks a month for 100 months. $1 into 10 grand.
Yeah. And you turn it into, I guess, pretty passive income. $100 a month.
I just get it.
Yeah.
I don't even get a check. I get a
every month.
QuickBooks notification once a month.
Yeah. So is that your exit strategy on a lot of it, is seller financing? Because it's, particularly hard to, like we said, get a loan on land. Your exit strategy is seller financing a lot of the times. And then do you always keep the note, or do you sell the notes sometimes too?
So exit strategy 50-50. I'd say half people have some sort of land loan, a construction loan. It's called a land home package, where they'll get like funding through a mobile home dealer. And so they'll get funding for the land and the build. And so, some sort of funding or cash is probably half of our deals. And then half of them are seller financing to the seller. As far as keeping notes, sometimes I'd say we've sold probably 25% of our notes. We hold the rest.
And so when you sell a note, do you sell it at a discount? 'Cause I've never sold a note before. I've met people that buy and sell notes, and I've done a lot of seller financing. But let's just say it's a $100,000 note, 4% interest. Do you sell it at a discount, or like you sell it for $100,000? How does that usually go?
We could run numbers and get into the weeds of that. But yes, typically you would sell it at a discount. There are kind of magic numbers note buyers like to see. If you talk to them, they try to like smoke and mirrors you of like, oh, it just depends. As long as their loan to value on this thing or their leverage is less than 65%, they're pretty happy.
Yeah.
And they have a double-digit return. They're not trying to take a risk on a land loan. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, if they can lend 65 grand on a note, buy a note for 65 grand, property's worth 100 G's, and it's a reasonable interest rate, discount changes. Then if it's, if you're seller financing 98% of the loan, somebody puts $2,000 down on a 100K purchase, you're probably going to take a pretty good haircut on them.
Yeah. Just because of the risk. The risk involved determines the discount.
If you have to foreclose, it's going to cost a couple grand to foreclose on them. So you have
and
zero
then
equity
no
in that deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. So what's your favorite deal that you've done?
Ooh, a favorite deal? Probably the dollar deal, honestly. Probably the dollar deal. That's a fun story. I think now I've been doing it long enough. My favorite part of the deal is actually probably about a year to 2 years after I've sold these properties, and I drive back by them, and there's like literally a house and kids playing in the front, and there's horses and cows on property with fencing built. And just to drive by and get a kind of a sneak peek of like a family that is living on that property because of the work that I did. I went into this of like, I want to make some money and I want to do real estate deals and I like land. Oh, I need to cater to my customer. They like homesteading. It's underserved. Let me serve it. And then the satisfaction later of like seeing family, like, dude, kids are growing up from the age of 2, 5, 7 years old in these properties, and they get to go from the city to living in the country and ride horses and take care of cows and pick up their, the chicken eggs in the morning. Like, that is so wholesome and so awesome to me that I was a part of that, a small part of that story.
You found the land, put it together, and got paid. And it's an important thing. So how large is the market of people looking for this kind of property to buy? Because it's not just a regular home in a big city where there's millions of people. Like, is there enough demand for it that you're pretty busy?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you pay attention to real estate news at all, like, biggest problem right now is affordable housing. By far, right? It's not, and that comes down to demand, that comes down to the size of houses that are being built, that comes down to a lot of things. The proposed solution is like, okay, cool, let's just build a bunch of houses at 1,000 square foot. Well, you have to do that in areas where there's jobs, there's viable income, there's grocery stores, there's different things, right? If we go in the middle of the Mojave Desert in New Mexico or Utah or Arizona and we just build 5 million houses, it does nothing. Who's
going to move into them? Yeah,
like the Dallas economy still doesn't have affordable housing, or the Chattanooga economy doesn't still, or Nashville, or Florida. Like, that doesn't solve the problem. And so you have to take a strategic approach, right? Of like, okay, these large home builders, D.R. Horton, Lennar, all these big boys, you guys buying these large properties and solving to some degree this lack of inventory within city limits. Those guys aren't willing to solve the problem of septic and well. And so some people don't want to live downtown or within 5 minutes of the freeway. They want to live 20, 30, 45 minutes outside of town. They're willing to make the drive every day. Maybe they install septic, or they're a dirt work guy, or they're a plumber, or they build barn dominiums. And it's like their customers are out in the country. And so catering to the needs, one, of the local economy and to that specific person. So even when I flipped houses, I knew who I was going to sell that to in my mind. I knew that my first flip, I was going to sell it to a young nurse. There was a hospital nearby. It was a $250,000 sale. And so even the paint scheme and all the appliances and everything that we did, I catered it towards that nurse. And so it's the same thing with land. Like, I don't buy land that has a steep slope because cows rolling down hills is bad for business, right? So we have to make sure the product fits our customer and it's economically viable.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And a lot of those people, like you said, their goal is that they don't want to see their neighbors.
Sure.
They want to have a lot of land.
I'm gonna drop a golden nugget. Anybody can plug into their business, whether it's real estate or not. This is highly effective in real estate if you're checking out new markets. I think it's the best way. Sure, you can go scour data and spend thousands of dollars scouring data, but this one nugget is going to change any business that actually uses it in the real estate space. And that is what we call a Facebook demand test. Go out there, get renderings, get mock-ups, get whatever you need to get in order to make a listing look legit, and see who reaches out, fills out your form, and then call them and have a real conversation with them and let them know, hey, we are flipping houses or buying apartments or renovating apartments or buying, we're looking at selling some land, and we would like to put you on the wait list if you're interested in that. If it's just a bunch of BS calls and nobody's, unresponsive, whatever, phone numbers don't work, bots, scam, whatever, not good. But if they're real customers, like, dude, I have people all the time. Matt, I've been looking for land for 2 years. I am so glad that I found your listing. Excellent. Let me put you on the wait list, and when we launch our next project and release it and development's done, I'll give you a call and we can discuss putting it under contract.
Yeah. So then,
and that simple thing, like spend $500, spend $1,000 doing a market demand test after you've sourced your data and found your little geographic area you're going to work in. Spend the $500 to $1,000, run the ads, call the people. Can you build? Specific question you're trying to answer is, can you build a wait list of 10 legitimate people that would want your product?
Yeah, that's genius. So you do this in a lot of different markets. You're based in Tennessee. You've talked about Arizona, New Mexico, Utah. But how do you do this at a nationwide level? Like how do you find land deals to sell to people across the country?
Sure. So when I talk about those other markets, at the time I was living in Arizona.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah. So operating in Arizona was easy. And when you hear people doing land deals, most of them are flipping lots. So they're looking for an infill lot. They're looking for a 5-acre piece, a 1-acre piece, whatever that they can buy for 20 grand, sell it for 70 grand and make a little rip, right? When you're developing and you're looking at subdividing property and splitting into individual lots, it's a lot more hands-on. Putting in fencing or gravel driveways, it's a lot more hands-on, and I only operate within 2 hours of Chattanooga at this point. So scaling this would require a lot more flights if I wanted to go nationwide. But I mean, some of these guys that you see on social media, they are legit. Like, they are flipping land nationwide without ever seeing these properties. I've done it. It's doable. You're just looking at data. You're hiring somebody off of Facebook or Craigslist or whatever to go take pictures or drone shots of your property to do your due diligence. And like, you can do most of it with a phone call and paying somebody $500. Now, if you want to get into, hey, we're going to entitle it and subdivide it and turn it into individual lots, extend power, water, put in driveways, meet with contractors. That's a whole different operational story.
Hmm. Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff to learn. So like you went from flipping, you went into the land, like how did you learn to become an expert in rural land development? Was it a slow process, or did you have a way that you just kind of figured it out, or you knew about it?
So I grew up in construction, like ever since I was even really young, single digit age. I've just been around construction and projects and different stuff like that. So I think I just have a natural inclination of the mind of how to run a project. And then flipping houses, you get a lot. You flip 10 houses in a year, you're in the pressure tester of meeting with contractors and getting bids and organizing calendars and timing and all that stuff. So that experience for sure carried over. But in my opinion, every single business can be boiled down to 2 or 3 main disciplines, right? Real estate isn't the game of real estate. Like that's not the business we're in. That's just the asset we're doing business around. Real estate is, if you're wholesaling, real estate is a marketing and legal game. All you're doing is marketing, sales, and legality, right? That's it. If you are like what you're doing, you're raising money and you're buying these apartment complexes. It's a money raising, maybe project management, and then a property management game. The real estate is just the asset. For what I do, it's marketing, it's project management, and legal, I guess, because we're subdividing and doing these entitlements. And so, like, I've got friends that run mail postal routes as contractors. And I've had extensive conversation with them to get them to understand, like, sure, you deliver mail, that's your job, but you're in the recruiting and training business. You need to make sure your employees are trained. Hey, if you get a flat tire, do they know how to change a tire? And they're not calling you at, 8 p.m. and they live in North Carolina and you're in wherever you're living. And now you have to figure out from 14 states away how to fix that. Like, you're in the recruiting and the training business. And so you got to boil down what skill sets you need to master.
Yeah. And it's funny, you were talking at the very beginning of the podcast, like most people, they just kind of go out there and grind, but they're not running it like a business. You need to treat it like a CEO at a certain point, especially when you have staff. And I'd love to talk about staff here in a minute. Like once you have staff, you're not in the land development business anymore. You're in the staff training, recruiting, management of people business. Like you might never at a certain point step foot on a piece of raw dirt ever again.
Right.
Unless it's your own property and just for fun. But so what does your team look like now to run this operation?
Yeah, we run pretty lean and mean. It's me and 2 other people, and we just keep things simple. I think one of the problems in most businesses, and I think right now people are going to probably start feeling it, is there's a lot of bloat in businesses. Jordan Peterson actually says if you take the square root of the number of employees in a company, that's how many people are effectively working. So if you have 100 people, or that's how many people do 80% of the work. So if you have 100 people in a business, 10 people do 80% of the work. And that's a staggering chart from somebody like him, or a statistic from somebody like him. And so we run super lean and mean. Like, we're not looking to be the biggest company. We're not looking to have the most people. We are looking to run a profitable business that can service our client and move quickly. Dude, interest rates just dropped. If interest rates go back up, or Bitcoin this, or AI that, or, whatever happens, this is at a point where management is like, I can pivot on a dime. If I want to shut this thing down and go flip houses, I can do that like next week, starting Monday. And I value that in our business. I don't want to be a behemoth of a company. I do want to do a lot of volume, but that volume comes through sustainable growth in a manageable way that we can pivot per market conditions without time lag.
Exactly. So to have a team, of that size, it's got to be all A players, right?
Players. Yep.
Yeah. You don't have the 80% of people that are only doing 20% of the work, because it just won't work. So how do you attract A plus talent to a real estate company?
With what we do, it's like how many people are interested in driving an hour and a half to a property to look at some dirt and some trees and meet a gravel guy? You know what I mean? As far like project management, for example, how many people do we meet that just love looking at data and pulling data and understand the analysis of data to go find a new market, or drawing lines on 500 pieces of property from printed pieces of paper? Like,
Yeah.
the natural,
those people are hard to find.
they're hard to find. And so the natural inclination, they have to already have for me, they have to have already doing something in the field. If you're flipping houses and you're like, oh, I want to go do land, you're probably not going to come work for me. I'll give you a shot. Like, hey, here's some people, call them, negotiate deals, see what you can do. But you're not going to be an integral part of our team until you have proven that this is like you've done it. So the partners I have, like, one guy's flipped 200 acres on his own over the last 5 years, 2 pieces, 100 acres each. He'll buy them, he'll go out, he'll shoot, he'll hunt, he'll camp, take his kids out, take his family out, and then, hey, we sold it and we made some money. Cool. You meet that guy at a meetup. This is where I think making content and meetup is really important, and in-person meetings, and going to lunch. And like, we have bonfires at our house. Like like, I'll give a system that I run at meetups. My system is, hey, I go to a meetup, I meet 2, 3, 4, 5 people I really like, I hit them up, I invite them all to a coffee shop or somewhere, lunch. Hey, we're just gonna have a little lunch deal real quick. Maybe I'll do a couple one-on-ones, and then if I ever have a bonfire or something at my house, I invite everybody that I've met at those meetups. And I'll have 30, 40, 50 people at a meetup, and half of them I just met in the last 2 weeks or 2 months. Because I think building relationships for the rest of humanity, especially with the advent of social media and AI over the last 20 years, and especially in the next 20 years, human connection is going to be number one. Like, 100%. I'll ask you this question. How many bonfires have you been invited to and attended in the last 12 months?
None since high school.
Right? And so, like, hey, you meet this guy, he's a land guy, he's invited us to his property to go have a bonfire, play some cornhole, and have a good time with other real estate investors and other guys doing 5, 10, 15, 20 million dollars a year. And we're all just going to chill out and just have a good time. There's no pressure of suits and ties and like a dinner party, and it's not fancy. We're just boys being boys. The kids are playing with sticks and in the mud and getting dirty, like humans being humans. And those create memorable times.
Fun. Yeah. And then it's the type of people that are going to be there as well, is why I'm like, you know, entrepreneurship can be lonely, and you want to be surrounded by people you can relate to. Even if it's like, we may not do business together with these people that are here. Like, maybe we won't, but I want to be surrounded by people I relate with just as a person.
100%. And for us, like, if you're a guy that doesn't enjoy bonfires and stuff, you're probably not going to do business with me. Like, it's that simple. You know what I mean? If you want to come be a project manager and you don't want to come hang out and have a beer and throw some cornhole, you probably don't like going out on property wearing muck boots and walking through the mud.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because we do these events and meetups and stuff in Atlanta. We've got the Atlanta Real Estate Conference a week from today. I don't know when people are going to be listening to this, but a week from today, as we're recording this, the conference next week. And we do it, we say this from the stage when people are coming, like, we're here to judge you. Like, we're gathering a room of people that, like, we think we align in interests and what we want to do, but we're looking for good people that we want to keep around, hang out with, do business with, do life with. Because, like, at a certain point, and especially in entrepreneurship, and just when you go all in, is like the business and your life kind of become like this. You're just intertwined. So it's like, well, if business is taking up a large portion of my day, it's a large portion of my life. I want to do life with people I want to do it with. So
100%.
The same thing goes in business.
Yeah, 100%. And people that are going to not just be there when times are good, but like when a deal goes sideways or there's a little complication or, you know, something happens. Are these the type of people that are going to show up because they care about it, because you're a good person to be around, because they're a good person? And, you know, you create little tests like, hey, I need, like, for example, at a bonfire.
The obvious thing we haven't even said is like you'll make more money that way too.
100%.
Like, you will make more money.
100%. So like, dude, when we have our one of the things that I love about hosting bonfires to people that I like being, that I am looking at being around is, hey, we got to we got to cut this log up real quick. I didn't realize we needed this much wood. Who's going to be the first guy to grab the chainsaw and help out, right? Who's going to be the guy that after the thing's cut is going to pick the log up and put it on the fire? Like, it's heavy and it's dirty and you're like, you got to work and you're at a party. Like, who's going to be that person to take initiative and do the work while everybody else is having a good time? Sure, the work is only 2 minutes, let's say. But those small moments is what I look for. Like, who's eager to get their hands dirty? Who's eager to be involved? Who's eager to like run the chainsaw and help do the thing? Or, like, that's what we're looking for.
Yeah. So another question I had that kind of pertained to this is we were talking about just A-plus talent within your organization and just the people you're surrounded with. Because are you often, say you do need a new team member, you're often having to recruit them? Because I found that like A-plus people are very rarely unemployed. They don't have a hard time finding somewhere to go make some money. So like, how do you get someone like that under your team? Is it this process of just meeting people, bringing them into your ecosystem, having them over, being around them, and when the time is right, it happens? Or do you have a system for recruiting A-plus talent?
That's a great question. I will give a realization that I've had. There's a lot of business owners right now that are looking to do not their business. A business owner that's been in business 5, 10, 15 years, maybe they're 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. They're done with the risk. They're done with running employees. They're done taking on debt. They're done with dealing with filing taxes. They're done with keeping up to date on the laws. They're done with having to chase business and manage salespeople and run marketing and work late nights. And if you can give them most small business owners, if they're at that point, and you can give them $100,000 a year plus some sort of upside, and they take on no risk, more people are willing to work for your company than you realize.
Makes sense. And then that kind of there's a different angle than where I thought you were going to go with this. Is like you can buy that business from them.
Well, the problem is most of them aren't buyable. Like, they are the business.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, you run a construction,
their book of business comes with it, and you hire them.
Yeah, you could for sure do a partnership, but like, okay, a construction company, a guy that knows how to run projects that you would want to come run your multifamily commercial deals. Cool. He runs a renovation company. He has his GC license, and he's just like, dude, I'm done. Well, if he steps out of that business, he's got 2 project managers, and there's crews working under him. Maybe he has an office manager and like a bookkeeper, accountant. If that dude leaves, nobody is selling for that business. And so the business has no viability to it. But you offer him $100, $150K a year to come work for you full time plus bonus incentives. Dude, more business owners are willing to come work for a 6-figure salary and stop doing what they're doing. There's a transition period and you got to work out some logistics, but then you realize.
I think you're 100% right. Yeah, because it's the same thing. We've bought a ton of properties with creative financing, seller financing, and the top reason people will sell us their property for no money down is because they hate being a landlord or they're just done being a landlord. We go for the retirement aged people that either are tired of finding new tenants and doing evictions and doing maintenance and repairs, and we say, hey, I'll pay you this price monthly, which is oftentimes pretty close to what they were cash flowing anyway, because they haven't raised the rent, because they're old school. They're not putting their full effort into this business. So, hey, how about you make the same amount of money every month, but you don't have to be a landlord anymore? They're like, done deal. We take over the property. Now we own it. We can come in, add value, improve the property, and that's how we make money. But they love it. It's the same thing. It's like they built this portfolio, but they're like, really, I just want the monthly income. I don't want everything else that comes with it.
Yep. Especially, as you get 40, like we're both pretty young, but as you get 45, 50 years old, it's like, dude, your kids are now teenagers, maybe approaching 18. You want to spend time with your wife. You're done. Like, you're done grinding, dude. You're not you're done with the risk. You're like, there's a lot of business owners that are willing to shut down their business in the next 12 months and come work for a good company with somebody that is willing to take on the risk and be a strong leader.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, even myself, like I'm in more of an entrepreneurial role.
Right.
Like I'm not the main guy. I'm not the top guy, but like don't have all the risk. Like payroll's not on me, to the same degree it would be to Shane. So,
And dude, you're an A player,
like
right?
it.
Like you're hosting the podcast, you're getting after it, you're on the stage. Like you're a prime example of that. Like, could you go run a business? Sure. But do you want to go take on the $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, $20 million worth of debt and be responsible for recruiting and employees and legal and accounting? No. You want to do what you're good at.
From zero.
Yeah. And you don't want to start from zero. Like,
yeah. So, that's really cool. So with this podcast, Good Investor, we like to say that a good investor is always learning. So what is something that you're learning right now?
Man, that's a great question. I've actually had probably 4 hours of conversation last 48 hours about this one thing of like, what's next? What are we doing next? What are we learning? How are we pivoting? How are we improving? And for me personally, when I look at our business, we are only doing minor subdivides. We didn't get into the details of minor versus major subdivides, but we're only doing minor subdivides. And when we sell land, 60% of the lots we sell, manufactured houses end up going on to. Guess what Matt Beans is time to learn? How do we do major subdivides and how do we learn how to underwrite and project manage putting manufactured houses on these properties? It's super simple, but that one change could literally, I do 10 lots and I add another 20 grand per lot, like that's an extra $200,000 and it saves the headache of the homeowner having to do it or the landowner having to do it. So I'm getting paid to solve yet another problem.
Mm-hmm. So you're kind of just going up one step further
just one step further.
All right, we're selling the land and they're doing all this with it. Well, let's do that part.
Let's do it.
Make some money there.
Let's do it. Let's just, we don't need to grow. If we can increase business by, and when I say increase business, increase bottom line profits by 20 to 100% with one small change, let's do it. We don't need to retool the whole business and shift asset classes.
20 to 100% increase in profits is quite a large range.
Oh yeah, but like, dude, think about it, right? Like, if we're buying an acre for $5,000 and we're selling it for $10,000, we're making $5,000.
But if you could somehow squeeze $15,000 out of it.
But now I put a manufactured home on it and I get 20 out of it, I just 4x'd my profit. Like one small change can change your business. But these things don't happen overnight. Like, dude, I've been doing land deals for 6 years, figuring out our product market fit. Who's our ideal client? Where do we geographically go? What are the market conditions? What's the lending conditions? Listening to Scott Bessett and what's going on with the banking system. Like, this is 6 years in the making before I'm like making a shift. It's like we found what works for us. We found who we tailor to. We found the problems we solve. How do we solve them better? That's it.
Does the economy need to be good for what you do to work?
Man, that's a great question. I've been asking myself this for a while, and I'm going to say no, because the economy runs off comps, or like real estate economy runs off comps, right? And the denser the area, the more comps affect you. If you're in a subdivision of like 400 houses and there's another subdivision next door that's 200 houses, and then there's townhomes and just a densely populated area, and all of a sudden 20 houses sell for like 30% of what they sold for last year, dude, you just got boned hard. But we're selling affordable housing. Like, these are under $200,000. The fact that a 20% correction in Atlanta or Chattanooga affecting some of these rural areas, dude, more people are probably more inclined to buy out in the country because they can afford it. Like, They don't have to go buy a $400,000 median price house in Chattanooga when they can go buy a $250,000 house
Right.
that's
Because you're already
30 minutes away. Like
down from where they were.
yeah, we're already saving their prices. Like if anything, pricing for affordability goes up, like affordable housing goes up in price because that's what everybody's buying.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a thing. I interviewed Pace Morby a few years ago, and one of the things he said that like really stuck with me is like, do you think the affordable housing problem is going to get better or worse?
Worse by far.
Yeah. So if you, and the government likes to incentivize people to provide affordable housing. That's why we get all these tax benefits and all the, the good parts of real estate is because the government wants us to create more affordable housing because they can't solve the problem themselves for the most part. So if that's an area that is like a big, the big support behind your business is that people need affordable housing, that's always going to be a thing. Like it's not the same as Airbnb. Like people don't always need a luxury place to stay on the
How
weekend.
deep down this rabbit hole do you want to go? How much time do we have?
It depends how much time you got. I actually, we've got a hard stop here in a little bit because we're running a webinar tonight actually for the film business. But
cool, awesome, man. What you said I think is so powerful. A lot of people look at the government like F the government. They're taxing us too much. They're trying to control us. They're trying to do this and that and the other thing. It's like, okay, snap a finger. Government doesn't exist. Now you have 300 million people that need to be told what to do, where to go. What are the priorities? Food, water, shelter, electricity, right? All the rest is just like nice to have, like guns and same-sex marriage and all these other things. Like if you were to wipe out all rules and regulations and start from zero, it's how do we keep people safe? How do we provide them with food? How do we provide them with water? And now power is just kind of like, if Phoenix, Arizona doesn't have power, everybody dies in the summer, right? Like it's a necessary thing. And just like in a company, like if you're a solopreneur, you only have so much resources, time, attention, and money to focus on certain things. If you're one person, in that 2 hours you're focused on marketing, you're not focused on fulfillment. If you're meeting with a customer on a Zoom call, you're not running marketing or like you're not taking sales calls. Like you only can choose this or that. And when you scale that to 300 million people, the government simultaneously is doing the same thing. We have a lot more resources as a country than in an individual. However, we need to choose what projects are we expanding on and what problems are we solving. Are we solving the, hey, we need to go to war? Or are we solving the, hey, we have affordable housing problem? The problem with the affordable housing problem,
name
anything,
other things.
Yeah. And the thing about the affordable housing problem is it's not a snap of a finger. Like, dude, when Trump got into office, whether you love him or hate him, dude, in a week he had the border shut down. Like that was literally the sign of a bill, snap of a finger, border closed, done. The thing about the affordable housing thing is like, okay, let's incentivize developers to build. Cool. From the time that I go buy a piece of land in Chattanooga, I don't care what freaking city it's in the US, Chattanooga, Knoxville, Nashville, Phoenix, God forbid LA or San Francisco or, New York. Now I've got to go through 6 to 12, maybe 18 or 24 months of rules and regulations at the state and the county and the city level to get approved. Just to go through that, it's going to cost me $20,000 to $200,000 depending on the size of the property. So now I'm just that money's gone. Now I'm on the hook for this piece of property.
Before you can break ground to start building.
Bro, that's not even buying the freaking piece of land. Now I've got to go spend $500,000 to $5 million on the piece of land. Then I've got to expand underground utilities, right? Road, water, power, sewer, all natural gas maybe. Then I have to build a house. And I'm in the hole $1 million, $5 million and 12 to 24 months before I even put a shovel in the ground.
Yeah, it's funny. My wife's a civil engineer, and she'll tell me sometimes, like she's talking to clients, she's like, these developers just sound so stressed and like they're pushing for all these deadlines and everything. I'm like, they're paying you guys for a service to do all this stuff, all these timelines, and like whether they've bought the land or haven't bought the land yet, like they're paying for something that might not
The
work.
clock's ticking either way.
The city might say no and they still have to pay you guys. Or maybe they have purchased the land and they're paying interest on something that they'd have to wait for paperwork to be done before they can build it, before they can go sell it. And that's a whole process. They're like 3 years from making a penny, and the clock is ticking, the bill is running up. It's not easy to build stuff.
And we have
here in Atlanta.
And we have a fundamental problem, right? We have a this problem or that problem. Let me give an example and then I'll get specific. My example is, do you fight for animal rights, save the cows, or feed the hungry children?
Feed the hungry children.
Right?
Doesn't mean you hate cows.
Doesn't mean you hate cows. Okay. Do we preserve the farmland and the culture of the rural communities, or do we build the affordable housing? Because the best land to build on is farmland. Now, mind you, I'm a farm guy. Like, I want to protect the farms, but it's like, okay, do we protect the farm that is producing, it's a 20-acre farm, it produces 10 cows a year, or do we take that 20-acre farm and put in 10 to 40 houses that are affordable for people to live and solve the homeless problem? And so when you're going through these regulations and the county and the state and the city are voting on whether or not to approve your development, you're also dealing with the morality of people and their own values and virtues. I've seen multiple times developments cross the T's, dot the I's, fully regulate, like pass the test 100% on paper.
Yeah.
They have their civil engineering plans.
Picket signs.
Bro, they have the land under contract. The zoning is correct. The power, all the feasibility tests have been done. $100,000 to perfect package to submit. But we want to protect that farm. Okay, so you're going to go cry about affordability, but you also cry about protect the farm. Which, like, you can't have both. You fundamentally cannot have both.
Yeah, I know guys that have had people show up like at the whatever, the zoning board or whatever, with like the developer's face on the t-shirt, like don't cut down our trees to build these townhomes. It's like, okay.
And then they go post 6 months later, dude, how pricing in our area is too high. Like, yeah, you just neglected 30 units to be built that would bring more pricing, increase supply, lower demand, and you chose not to. So like you can't have both.
But it is funny, and Atlanta's been actually really good about it. The mayor of Atlanta is like huge on the affordable development and building new units, and rent has gone down citywide in Atlanta, I think by a good bit. And which like has crushed a ton of multifamily syndicators. That's a whole other conversation.
That's a whole story, yeah.
I don't think it's a bad thing that it's happened. It's unfortunate for a lot of them and their investors, of course, but rent has gone down. Now it's gone down from a 5-year period where it doubled and then it came down a little bit. Right. So it's not back where it was, but
yeah,
they built so many units. They built a lot of units in Atlanta and things became more affordable. But
Speaking of that, we're also, because development takes so much time, COVID hits, right? 2020. There was a massive migration to states and cities like Austin and Dallas, Florida, stuff like that.
Austin's another one where it's gone down pretty bad.
Vegas got, and so now over the last probably 2 years, that migration trend has switched. So when you're a developer, you're also following trends of like, where are populations increasing and then decreasing? If you were, say, 2021, 2022, and you're a developer in Austin, dude, you're going and buying land and you're paying the civil engineering and you're paying for the surveys and you're getting everything done. But if it takes you 2 years to get your development turnkey ready to sell, and now the migration trend switches, you're also taking on the economic trends risk of you can't look at historic data only. You have to be able to forecast. And when you have freak events like that, you can't, it's nearly impossible to do that. And that's why these guys that are talking to your wife as a civil engineer, dude, everything is stressful. Interest rates are high, future migration trends, contracts timing out, changes in EPA rules, changes in local, preservation of trees and endangered species rules. Like, it's a stressful business, and I don't recommend it unless you are absolutely like Mr. Beast talks about, like, don't become a YouTuber unless like you couldn't live your life without doing it. Do not become a developer unless you cannot live your life without doing it. Like, you have to be able to grind this out sometimes.
Yeah. Well, that being said, we're planning to get into development this year, so
Good luck.
But yeah, it is difficult to do, but it needs to be done. It is rewarding, and when it's done right with the right protections. So we're coming up on an hour here. I really appreciate it. Like, is there anything else that we need to cover? I know you said we didn't get into what was the subdivides you were talking about.
Yeah, major and minor subdivides. We don't need to get into all that.
We even have time for that. If not, we'll have to do an episode 2 someday soon.
Let's do it.
Matt, where can people find more about you, get in touch with you, learn about what you do, buy properties from you, or send you properties you can buy for $1?
Sure. Send me as many properties for $1 as you can, please.
Yeah.
The Matt Beans on most social media. I guess Instagram and Facebook, I'm most active. I don't really touch Twitter or LinkedIn and all that. Feel free to reach out. We bring investors in on deals if people are looking to allocate money. We can work with self-directed IRAs and 401ks into some of these alternative assets. If you want to pick my brain, I do offer consulting on land development and stuff like that. And if you just, whatever people need, man, I'm an open book. I love to help. I think we're all in this world together for a short amount of time. And as long as good people can get together, good things will happen.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate it. This has been the Good Investor Podcast, episode 3. So you're episode 3, and we're hitting the ground running with this, and it's going to be a historic episode. So I appreciate you being a part of it.
Appreciate it, Tim.
All right. Thank you.